So I do this thing almost every year or couple years where I make some upgrades based on the latest hardware to my PC, my workstation, gaming machine, basically my general purpose workstation. I use it for video editing, work, and then of course day to day just kind of gaming and overall usage. And I try to do it in line with major upgrades to hardware. So CPUs, graphics cards, those major releases, which obviously only happen every couple or so years. This is what this video started out with, a update to my 2025 PC with the latest, AMD Ryzen 9 CPUs, the 9950X3D in particular. I was fortunate enough to get my hands on an OEM CPU from a local shop, and adding some more hard drives and storage because these videos and projects I've been working on, they've been adding up. So I've been trying to add more storage to my workstations as well. And what started out as a upgrade to my PC pretty much resulted in, well, a whole new PC build. So let's dive into it. Okay, so went to my local computer store today to pick up this for an upgrade for the build. Success. F360 RGB core, just additional fans for the build in question that we've been upgrading. But also ended up walking out with all of this. So I guess we're building a new PC. Okay, so I really did go in for that fan today, and I had plans after I had gotten the 9950X3D for my current build to eventually move into this case right here, the Fractal North XL, which is what I've been wanting to kind of swap to. And as I upgraded the CPU, I wanted to kind of, change the vibe of the build. But then I was thinking, like, I wanted better cooling, and, eventually when the 5090 is achievable in terms of stock and whatnot, I wanted to grab that. And, got the new case, got some new fans, and then I figured, why not just go all the way and go for a new build? So for the most part, right now, all I'm really salvaging is the hard drive and the RAM. But I've been really excited to move to this case because I wanted something a little bit different. My last 3 or 4 builds, I guess technically, with the exception of the small form factor build, were NZXT cases, and changing up the vibe here in the studio. So I thought this kind of wooden tone of the North XL would be a really good pick. And I just recently built in a fractal design for that small form factor and was a big fan of that case and wanted to kind of deviate. I gotta first get this out somehow. So for this build, I did want to change it up a little bit in terms of aesthetics. I'm also going to be trying out an air cooler this time around just to see how that goes and do a little less on the whole RGB aesthetic and kind of go a little less, more minimal, I guess, so to speak. So here it is, Fractal North XL. Let's take you in for a little bit of a closer look here. You got that wooden front panel, which it's known for, but I really like these gold accents as well, both on the buttons and then on the feet here, which is a nice little touch. And again, good amount of room to build in. I honestly thought it was like a taller case, but we'll see. I think I'll still manage to build in it decently well. But yeah, I haven't built in a non-NZXT like full tower case like this, or a tower case, in a long time. Yeah, it's just basic accessories here, so additional mounting screws and whatnot. Okay. So I think at this point, really, it's just going to be getting the parts kind of prepped. I like the temps and whatnot. This is the trusty NHD 15 Noctua cooler, classic, cooler, well known in the space. That said, there is the Gen 2 of this. I believe there's like the NHD 15 G2. They did not have that one in stock for the AMD processors, so I opted just for going for this. I think it's like $70 more for that G2. This should be sufficient. I am debating whether or not I just want to go for that G2 just to, again, sure up if we're going all out for this build. But I figured I'll try this out, see how I like it. Worst case, I can always throw this in like another build or whatnot. Motherboard here, we have another one that I was kind of highly debating on as far as my options. I contemplating going as far as going like the, what is it, the Asus Godlike, which is like such an overkill motherboard, but again, I figured if we're going big, we might as well go really big. Settled in the middle ground here. This is the X870E ProArt by Asus. So this is their X870E Creator Wi-Fi board. So it is a little bit more like artsy aesthetic board. It's aimed for creators. I know it's like a lot of marketing stuff, but this meets a lot of my needs where I kind of wanted the 3 PCIe slots. So this is 2 PCI 5.0 and 1 PCI 4.0. X16 slots, and then those X16 slots do share the bandwidth there with the M.2 slot. And then this, speaking of M.2 slots, has 4 M.2 slots, which is going to be a big factor for me because M.2 storage is something I'm already maxed out on my current board that also supports 4. Oh, sorry, I guess I should talk about the other components. Ended up going with a Seasonic Vertex. Seasonic is a very reliable PSU brand. This is a 1200 watt, since we're going to be throwing my 4090 in here and eventually a 5090 in the future. This is a gold 80 plus. I do have a titanium, or is it platinum PSU in my current build. This time around, I wanted to go with something 1000 watts plus, and 1200 watts should be more than sufficient and kind of give me some extra headway for the future. But I know there are like the Seasonic titaniums and whatnot, but I figured 80 plus gold should be more than enough efficiency-wise and power for me. And then fans, we are going all Noctua. So Noctua across the board, rear fans, 3 more. What are these? 120? Yeah, 123 120 mil fans, and then 140 for the rear. Force that to pop off. And yeah, essentially you're supposed to keep this for like if you ever go to like turn this or whatever. I have not like knocked to a cooler of this caliber. Oh, that's terrible sound. I knocked to a cooler of this caliber before. This thing is junky. Here she is. I'm actually really digging the Noctua color set because I feel like it's going to sit well with this whole kind of build. Okay, I'm not going to lie. I don't know how this is supposed to fit, but apparently it fits. And it says like high RAM compatibility, but I don't know. I just like kind of was looking at it, how it's supposed to fit. We'll see. So it's kind of hard to see, but this is the Noctua compatibility list for the motherboards. And as you can see here, NHD15 compatible with certain restrictions. See comment. And the comment here is essentially you have to use the standard position versus the offset, otherwise it can block the X16 slot. I, for the life of me, could not get that working, and I didn't see that like with the RAM and the way this motherboard is. I honestly did not see it fitting with the heat sinks on this motherboard. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I was just being an idiot and was not reading properly how to install this, and now I understand it, because this is how it's supposed to sit, and then essentially you mount the fan over here, and it was because of how I had the second fan on, why it wasn't sitting properly. But yeah, this should definitely fit. And even with the overhang here, because I did read that this is the offset position, so apparently 4090, it'll just barely fit. Now we're cooking. Back in business. Alright, not gonna lie. It's like 2 in the morning right now. And at this point, I have all the components in. Just got the power supply in. I just have to get the GPU and then like actually wire everything. But I'm pretty exhausted, so I think as much as I want to finish this right now, I'm just going to pick this up in the morning. Alexa, turn on Office. Alrighty. It is 8:39 in the morning, like literally under 6 hours of sleep. But we got a job to finish. Okay, so here's the back of the build. I've been trying to utilize like the existing kind of channels for the cabling in the back and kind of stick to that, and then picking the shortest paths for these kind of cable channels as well. I like how they have like all the fan connectors here in the back. Makes it nice and easy via this little like tiny built-in fan controller on the Fractal North. But yeah, it really is just kind of wiring everything in. You have a couple of additional, you have hard drive bays down here on the bottom next to the power supply. I believe these are for additional like 2.5 SSDs or hard drives as well. But yeah, a lot of nice, you know, basic cable managing, routing channels here for you to build in, and a lot of space. So I literally just came straight out of bed. Kind of did the small morning routine, and then literally just jumping into this because I really want to finish it. Okay, quick swap, and then, I mean, it's still super close to the GPU, don't get me wrong. I just want to make sure that the heatsink, like there's enough of a gap. I want to make sure the heatsink is not touching the GPU, and at the same time, like there's a good gap, and then the good thing, at least with the 4090, at least my 4090, there is like a back plate, so like there is a gap, it's not touching. And when I put like the CPU or GPU bracket, I'll support it even more. So it's close, but it is not touching. Okay, so we have the chunker of the 4090 in the case, as you can see here, and it fits. I am considering if it's even possible, like a vertical mount in the future, or what that would look like. But I mean, like right now, you can see it's like pretty tightly packed. There is definitely clearance there between the heatsink and the GPU. And again, this has a back plate, so I'm not too worried. But this is without the previous like sag bracket, so this is working fine. I might put something on the bottom since I don't have any like radiator or fans on the bottom, just to kind of help prop up the GPU on the back end. But yeah, I think we're about ready to go. Okay, moment of truth here. First boot. Obviously, first post does take a while. I also not sure if it's gonna recognize the display, but let's boot her up. I hear fans in the front. Feel the fans in the front. I see the rear fan spinning. I believe I see the CPU fan spinning. It's kind of hard to see actually because of the glass. I do see new CPU installed. This is just the TPM stuff if I want to reset the TPM. So it's a good sign because that's normally what happens when you install a new CPU. And so far, no blue screens or anything. Let's see, what do we see here? We have the boot priority. It is booting off the 2 terabyte NVMe 5.0 slot. It sees all the RAM. It's running at 4800 megahertz right now, so we're going to want to adjust that. I don't think I need to adjust too much outside of that. I'm not trying to do anything like crazy right now in terms of like clock speeds or anything. See? I mean, might as well, right? Let's see, save changes, reset. 5200 megahertz to kind of get the full speed of that DDR5 RAM. Wait for it. But we are in Windows. Look at that. Mission complete. Okay, so my initial suspicion is we have a driver issue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my MacBook here and download the LAN driver specifically for this motherboard. Put it over via USB and then install that. Because essentially if I can get internet, I can update all the other drivers is the thought process there. And yeah, so let me just kind of move that over. Oh. Why is... I had no idea this was on this pen drive. Wait for it. Hard to see that, but you can see it's identifying the network. And bingo. Now we have internet connection. So from here, I should be able to do all the other updates I need to do. And just making sure all the drivers are getting up to date here. You know, with that, honestly, I think it is safe to do the final and satisfying glass peel. Okay, so drivers updated. We still need to tweak some fan curves, but as far as everything goes, you can see CPU here just at idle. We're running at about 53 degrees Celsius right now, according to core temp. And then memory-wise, the 128 gigs is detected. It says 134, but it is also, what is it running at? Is the actual... So it says 3600 MTS. So that's something I might need to take a look at, adjusting that megahertz and whatnot. But otherwise, I think for the most part there'll be some tweaking, but I think we're looking good. All right, for all intents and purposes, she is booted, she is working. I also pulled out the 3.5 drive because I needed to readjust it in the slide bay. I forgot to put like the sound dampeners on there, which kind of help with the vibration. So that kind of helped with the whole noise profile. But otherwise, even at like ambient noise, like this thing is pretty quiet. But we are not done because we still have my old build, which is going to be salvaged. And like I said, we'll have to throw some RAM in there, throw a GPU in there, and then I want to throw in this NZXT F360 RGB core later today because I got lunch plans. I got to go run. I'm going to go pick up a couple more fans, and who knows what else I'll walk out the store with. Okay, so it's now several hours later, been out for the day. Bit of shopping, but the last pickups today were for the rest of this project and some of the upgrades I want to do. So let's go through it. Went back to the same computer store today, Central Computers here in the city, and decided to pick up, at least for right now, another 4 terabyte NVMe. This is a PCIe 4.0. So this is a 990 Pro from Samsung, pretty decent speeds. This is Gen 4, so this is not another Gen 5, even though I have another Gen 5 slot available. The idea here is to consolidate I think I have like an ADATA 1 terabyte, I have another 2 terabyte drive, and a 4 terabyte. Essentially, I have like 3 NVMEs taking up all those slots that probably could be consolidated to at least 1, if not 2, aside from the main boot drive that I have, which I believe is that 2 terabyte Corsair that is Gen 5. Eventually, I think right now, I may be wrong, at least in the store I know, the max Gen 5 that they have is like a 4 terabyte. And ideally, I would just have my main boot drive with all my system files and stuff like that and games and whatnot be, the biggest drive possible. But right now, since that is kind of newer tech, I believe 4 terabytes, there may be an 8 terabytes out there, but I'm imagining it's like absurd amounts of money. So for now, this should allow me to consolidate at least the 2 terabyte and the 1 terabyte into this and give me more storage. And at this point, I should have more than enough storage for like the videos and projects and stuff like that. I keep a lot of my raw footages, which I was talking about before. I back that up to a local NAS. But having the flexibility, and for me, it's a lot about the impedance of like when I'm recording, when I have an idea, screencast, vlog, video, whatever, I don't want to be blocked by the tools, if that makes sense. Like I don't want to have to worry about shifting the content and shifting drives around and stuff like that. So for most people, 4 terabytes in a main drive is going to be more than enough, like for games and your system and all that good stuff. This is mostly for like productivity, work-related stuff, business-related stuff that tends to take up a lot of storage, which is why I invested in yet another 4 terabyte, so we can consolidate that. I also decided to pick up this. This is a 32 gigs of 32 gigs of DDR5 6000 megahertz of Vengeance RAM for a AMD system. So this was just like a quick pickup that, 32 gigs of RAM should be more than enough for the spare system right now with room to grow if I ever decided or needed to upgrade that. So this will allow me to now have the old system be kind of fully functional because the only thing I really pulled from it was the RAM and the CPU, but we put the old CPU in and then we pulled the 4090 out. So ideally what I'll do now is pull the 3080 Ti from my other build, put that in here. So technically I am pulling parts from old builds, but yeah, it's kind of like this daisy chain effect. I pull parts from the older builds and then bought some parts to kind of, make sure that the machine is fully functional. Last but not least, picked up these Noctua NF-A1 14x25R. These are the G2, so the Generation 2 model. These are 140 millimeter push-pull sets of the Noctua fans. These are going to go on the top of my current build, the build that we just started setting up. Okay, so probably took much longer than it needed to, but we now have both builds complete. We have the new RAM in here. We have the two SSDs in here. That's going to be the new boot drive. We have the 3080 Ti from my other build that's in here. And then in the new main build, we have the new 4TB 990 Pro, which we consolidated with those other ones. We added the two push-pull config at the top, two 140 Noctua fans. Now it's time to close everything up and just hope that everything boots and works. Okay, test boot number 2 again today. Hey. Oh wait, not good. Not good. I hear fans clicking. Okay, so I'm going to try out these rubber screw mounts from Noctua. They actually hold pretty well, surprisingly. So I want to see if that helps with the anti-vibration on this top mount. I know these are the round fans, but I'm going to see if the mesh, I think it should slide over this. I just realized this whole time that clicking is not these top fans. It's 100% the GPU here. And it's probably just because the sag bracket is pushing the cable to hit the fans. Ay. It had nothing to do with the top fans the whole time. Okay, so we got the old build set up here. Test number 2. I've hooked up to the TV right now. Not sure if it's actually going to be, should be detected, but I mostly just want to make sure everything boots and turns on, so let's see. Probably helps to turn on the power supply. Whoa, okay. Something's wrong. That would be cables again. Which, oh, I can literally see the cable. So when I was like moving a lot of stuff around in here. Test number 2. And there she blows. But look at that. It is hitting the BIOS screen. So if I hit, what is it, F1, function 1. Boom. We're in the BIOS. Nice. So you can see detected the 7950X. The new RAM we just installed, so the 32 gigs of RAM should be detected. And then now I just need it to boot from not the M.2 because there's technically not an OS on this M.2. At least shouldn't be. All right, let me connect the good mic here because these fans are so loud. So good news is it sees the partitions. I did not wipe the drives back before I like transferred everything off. These drives are basically zeroed out in the sense that there's no data on it. Zeus is the 2 terabyte Samsung, and then Athena is the 1 terabyte ADATA. So essentially I can just kind of honestly delete all these partitions and then it should be good to go. Okay, so it is Sunday morning, and we've finally settled down and have both builds fully complete, whatever complete means for right now. So, bit of recap. It's been quite the weekend. A lot going on outside of this whole weekend project that manifested after looking to just get some more fans for the case. Pretty much spent majority of Friday, Saturday building, putting together, troubleshooting a lot of this versus getting time to spend actually using it and enjoying it and playing games and all that good stuff. So that's definitely what today's plan is in mind. But yeah, we are complete. So we have the new main build here, the 9950X 3D build in the North XL from Fractal. And then we have my H9 Elite case, the previous build, kind of salvaged, and we threw a 3080 Ti in there, threw in 32 gigs of RAM, and that is now a fully functional machine, alongside a new install of Windows and some new NVMEs in there. And technically, my third build is functional as well, as long as I get a graphics card to toss in there. I think I have a 3070 that we might be able to toss in there, Founders Edition. So yeah, a lot of part shifting, a lot of rebuilds, but we eventually and finally got there. And this is what happens when I do things like on a whim. You know, compatibility issues, I got to figure stuff out. But ultimately, I'm happy with the new main build. I'm really happy with this Fractal North XL case. The big reason I wanted to switch to this case alongside just kind of upgrade the main one is I also wanted to just go for a different aesthetic and vibe. This one is very much screaming, you know, gaming PC and has all the RGB. This one, minus the RAM right now, has no RGB and is a more stealthy, kind of subdued build, but very powerful and capable, and will be kind of scalable for the future with the X870 board, you know, future 5090, and whatever else we decide to throw at this. I'm also going to be, in the future, I'm mapping out a new desk right now, so something equivalent to this in terms of like length, but much bigger in terms of depth and an actual desktop. This is that classic IKEA kitchen countertop hack that a lot of people do. So we're switching up a lot in the studio and kind of changing the tones, the vibe, and this new case I think is going to match that perfectly. But yeah, this has been an overall fun project. It's been a fun weekend for me. I know I made a lot of mistakes and learned a lot of things. I'm sure people shouting in the comments along the way. This was a long one, so if you made it through this much, I hope you enjoyed the content. This is stuff I want to kind of do more of, and a big reason I have this kind of, you know, studio and home office setup to explore things like this and tinker. So I look forward to more content. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, hit that thumbs up button. Consider subscribing if you want to see more content like it. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, a big thank you for watching. Now I guess I just get the game.